So session 4, projects and management actions. This will be chapter 6 of the GSP. This is how we're going to reduce the overdraft. The overdraft is going to be balancing, as you see here with our pretty figures. We have too much demand right now for the amount of supply that we have. So we need to increase our supply through projects, largely through projects, or we need to reduce the demand of groundwater through most likely management actions. Okay? So our emphasis and the first things coming out of the gate for the GSA will be to construct and focus on projects to increase the water supply. But demand reduction through management actions will likely need to take place within the next 5 to 10 years if these projects aren't materializing, if they're not being built, if they're not recovering the amount of water that we need to overcome that overdraft. Included in the GSP is this preliminary list of projects. So this is what you want to look at, sir. So we got 19 projects listed here, largely recharge. Okay, right? That's how we're going to offset the overdraft, is by capturing all those floodwaters that leave our GSA and leave our subbasin. So these are spread across our district. They are some that are site-specific. Others are, say, for example, on-farm recharge is identified here. Landowners are currently doing this, and more may pick up the opportunities to flood their vineyards or other orchards to increase groundwater recharge. It doesn't always need to be into a dedicated recharge basin. However, the majority of these projects are just that, dedicated recharge facilities. The total amount here in terms of the estimated benefits is just shy of our number to quote unquote be sustainable. You know, these are preliminary numbers. We're doing the best we can with the data that we have. However, these numbers are just a little bit shy of that overdraft number that we mentioned before. So we will need to take other practices and we'll say turn down the demand knob in some way over the next 20 years to make sure that we can achieve sustainability. I think, I mentioned we kind of got these in a prioritization, kind of those that would help with the highest yields that are probably most feasible. But this list in priority and numbering is somewhat arbitrary. Anything could move before another one. These are what the board and GSA will be focusing on now, but as soon as this GSP is approved, this is what we're going to need to start investing in and getting plans developed, working on design drawings and permits, seeking out grant funding, use local funds, use partnerships with our neighbors, with farmers, with agencies. The book is unwritten in this sense. We need to do our best and stretch our dollars where we can. So the potential management actions. So these are largely those that will aid the GSA in achieving the sustainability, but through data collection that we have to do, through monitoring, which we have to do, and then groundwater demand reduction, which we only have to do if the projects can't overcome the overdraft. So a suite of potential management actions are presented in the GSP that may be implemented at the GSA level or at a landowner level. And if again, the project implementation does not eliminate the overdraft. So these categories are what you're going to find in the GSP, and they're roughly education and outreach, wellhead requirements, groundwater allocation, groundwater marketing or trading, fees and incentives, and lastly, groundwater pumping restrictions. The specific details of these future policies and programs will be developed during the GSP implementation. So this is after we get it adopted, right? So in this section and in this chapter of the report, you're going to see in many examples kind of the basic framework of what other basins, other states, other countries have done to achieve sustainability, and talk about their programs and policies that were developed over many years with public input to achieve that sustainability. So in a lot of ways, our target isn't just January, right? We're going to get this GSP in, but that's just the starting line for how we're going to develop projects, and craft management actions that work for us here. This is what we consider the glide path. In terms of that slope of the curve on that hydrograph, where we're going to see groundwater levels slowly taper off and flatline over the 20-year horizon, we are anticipating in our milestones for how we're going to get there would be in the first 5-year period, we would have a 10% reduction in this overdraft. By 2030, we'd have a cumulative 30% from where we began. By 2035, we'd have a 60%, and by 2040, 100%. So you can see we're going to go 10%, 20%, 30%, and 40% in the last 5 years there. So we would love to get to this glide path even sooner, but we just understand that it takes time and money to build these projects and to craft these management actions. And to increase public awareness and to help all of us better understand what we're really up against. The implementation schedule, again, these are 5-year increment blocks at the top. These color schemes indicate planning, implementation. Yellow is benefits realized, and then the ongoing costs associated with maintaining those basins or those projects. Some of these are happening now. They're in construction or completing construction. Others are being designed. Some are in conceptual stages. Others have 30% design drawings. But here's the gamut. And they're rough timelines because we can't really commit to all of these being completed on a specific date and time because they involve a lot of agencies and permitting and dollars. So that's where we've crafted what we believe is a rough outline of how we're going to start with filling the data gaps, which we need to do and believe we need to do by the first 5-year update. Then tackle projects. And lastly, get into the management actions, which you'll see would be pushed out a little bit further on our timeline. So the implementation, again, first priorities, let's get water into the ground through the development of projects to augment that groundwater supply. We need to develop a data management system so that when we're collecting this data and monitoring it, we have an easy way to report to the DWR each year on our findings and fill in those data gaps that we identified. And seek funding, work on grants, Prop 218 elections, local agency funds, and or potential management actions where they would be generating revenue for the GSA to be able to invest in other projects and management actions. And then as a second priority, implement those management actions to reduce groundwater. When Kevin mentioned it, the state is going to work in a reverse order. And that's why we all can agree that we want to manage ourselves locally and do our best to build projects and save the water that we can, as opposed to immediately starting some more serious and detrimental management actions.